Hello, everybody, and welcome back. We are about to start round number 2 of week 5 of the PSS 5. I'm Michael Hoyp. I'm joined by Rich Shay. How's it going, Rich?
Hey, Mike. I'm doing as well as one can be after getting run over by a giant evil robot monster demon thing.
Yeah, he's
Other than that,
an
I can't.
unforgiving shrimp. Yeah, but
He's not a friendly guy at all.
no, but you are a very friendly guy, and I'm glad to have you in the booth. And I
I
know
appreciate it. I'm
a lot
glad
of
to
people
be
look
here.
forward. A lot of people look forward to when you cast. So I'm excited as well. We have the matchup between Michael Arnold and Jared Doucette. So Jared was commentating on you before, and now you get to return the favor. So
Oh, good. I hope you said good things. I haven't had a chance to rewatch the tape. I assume they're all positive.
I would say he didn't say anything bad about you, but I would say I don't think he's a big fan of the Oath Parfait deck. But so I think in his mind he would
Um,
have been rooting for Alvaro, but
to each his own. There's
yeah,
no accounting for taste.
yes.
But, you just have to learn to enjoy the finer things in life, like land tax and old
Yes.
frame cards.
All right, let's quick take a look at what the players have brought to this tournament.
All right.
So Mike Arnold has brought the Star Spangled Slaughter, Dead Guy Ale, and the Natural Order Rock, while Jared has Goblins, Replenish, and the Rock.
Yes.
So Mike played Natural Order last week, and Jared played Goblins last week.
Mm-hmm.
So Mike has the Star Spangled Slaughter and the Dead Guy Ale, while Jared has Replenish and the Rock. Do you want to dissect any of this, or do you just want to jump
So
to the decks?
if I'm Michael, I'd bring the Star Spangled Slaughter.
Okay.
And if I'm Jared, I would bring Replenish. And the reason for that is that Replenish has the ability to top deck and instantly win against a pile of discard. And so Michael would need counters. Michael then has to bring his deck with counters and not just discard as a counter to that. But then if he does that, Jared can't really bring the Rock nearly as well because the Rock can't deal with Exalted Angel.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that sort of means both players are on, or have to be on, I think, Replenish and mid-range Angel pile dot deck.
Sure. Yeah, I the only thing would worry is like, is Jared afraid of counter magic plus meddling mage? Is that too problematic for the Parallax
I mean,
Replenish deck?
yeah, it's very bad for the Replenish deck, but Exalted Angel also beats the Rock. So
Okay.
I think that he's not going to be lined up well against either of these.
Yeah, I guess I mean, I haven't played the Replenish deck that much, but maybe the ability just to cast like Parallax Wave then means meddling mage is just not that big of a deal. And if they do have Mother of Runes, it's like, okay, sure, you can protect it once, but I have multiple activations of the wave. So maybe I'm overstating how unfortunate that matchup would be, but
I'm not sure. I think it'll be interesting to see it play out. Actually, now that you describe it, I want to watch it happen.
okay. All right. So let's take a look. The first deck we have is Mike Arnold. He will be playing the Dead Guy Ale list. So
Ooh, all
the
right.
classic Dead Guy Ale is black and white with disruption and removal. Mike has played around with this list a lot. He is incorporating Tainted Pact. That is the card you can exile cards off the top of your deck, and you can keep going if you want. But as soon as you hit a card that has the same name as another card revealed, then you don't get any of the cards. So I think a lot of times Mike kind of looks at that card as like a black impulse. He's not looking to go super deep in his deck. It's not a demonic consultation by any means. It's
Right.
it's just like I'll kind of, and once I get a card that's like maybe slightly above average or something I'm looking, then I'll just take it. I won't get too risky. Which is an interesting look. I don't have a lot of experience playing Tainted Pack, so it could be that it really fits well into the mid range strategy. But
It might. It might. But you'll note this deck has no answers to replenish in the main, right? No Withered Wretch, no
the way that it interacts is Duress, Gerard's Verdict, and Hypnotic Spectre. It's all the hand disruption, which
yeah.
uh, I guess unless it's random is probably not very good, because if you cast Gerard's Verdict, then like them discarding two of your pieces is not that big of a deal. So so let's take a look at what Jared's playing, and he is playing the Parallax Replenished list. So this combo deck, basically, if you get Opalescence plus Parallax Wave, that's kind of like step one. If you get that combination, that you have
Mhm.
a card that can like flicker itself and exile your opponent's creatures due to timing. And then if more cards come into play, then it kind of is just like added. Like the Parallax Tide can make it so you can remove your opponent's lands. And then, I mean, even if you don't go for the replenish aspect, Seal of Cleansing interacts nicely with either of those Parallax cards. But there's a lot of digging, like Attunement and Frantic Search and Intuition. So.
Yeah, it's an awesome deck. It's a little top heavy in that it's trying to resolve a 4-drop and then sometimes another 4-drop and then another 4-drop.
Well,
and it
yeah,
doesn't really do much until playing
there's
4.
16 cards that cost 4 mana, and that in Premodern, that's a lot. That's very clunky.
Not a small number, is it?
I mean, I guess like something is you're not always trying to cast those cards, but and then you also have Ancient Tombs and City of Traders,
Right.
but still, like there are just certain times you're going to draw a hand that has multiple 4-drops, and you don't have a lot of options. So,
Right. Now, I think this is going to be good for Jared. No matter how much Michael's hand disruption hits, he can just mize the replenish off the top, and that's a plan. Also, Dead Guy often gives you a lot of time, so Jared's going to have time to sift through his deck, and once that deck gets going, you can really move through cards quickly.
Okay. I'm ready to start. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah.
All right, let's jump down to the match. If you want to let our players know that they can begin.
Let me do that.
I do believe that Jared had won the die roll, so he'll be starting things off. All right. So I'm trying to think of like what I would most want from Jared. I mean, he doesn't know what he's up against, so he doesn't know whether he's playing against the Star Spangled Slaughter or the Dead Guy L. But it's almost like you don't need to draw Replenish in the first few turns because you're probably more afraid of like it getting duressed.
Yeah, I think you're heavily incentivized to just keep your 7, right?
Yeah.
Against any sort of disruption, that deck, I think you keep the mediocre 7 here because you'll have time and you don't want to mulligan to a good 5 and have it turn into an awful 5 with help from a duress.
But it's funny that Mike leads with City of Brass because I think that's in both his Star Spangled Slaughter and his Dead Guy L list. Because I mean, like it's funny. A lot of times when I talk about like mulliganing for the first game, I always assume that the players know, which is not true. They don't know what deck their opponent's on unless it's every third week they will. But even here on the second turn, I don't think Jared's plays would be drastically different. But and also I think the Gemstone Mine is also in the other lists.
That's hilarious.
Well. So
Michael's just a fan of stable mana bases.
Yeah, he's just a man of mystery. I think that's what it really is.
Absolutely. He has morph.
Yeah.
We'll see what he flips over into soon.
Will it be a Dead Guy Ale deck or a Star Spangled Slaughter? So like, Jared's just not sure.
Was it time for a Tainted Pact?
I think that's what we might be seeing. Yes.
So did Jared miss his 3rd land drop and also not play anything?
Yeah, which is, I mean, I would say you could have Frantic Search, but even then, it might be incentivized.
You want to use it to make your land drop. I mean, I like I said earlier, I think that if Jared expects to play against duress, he's incentivized to keep 7, and so there's nothing wrong with keeping a 7 with 2 land. And sometimes it doesn't always work out, but he might be 1 land away from just, unleashing a horde of powerful 4-drops.
So Mike, I think he immediately saw a Phyrexian Arena and took it, which to me is almost a little bit surprising, but maybe it's different because just how the way the game's played out, especially if you're not casting that Phyrexian Arena right away.
Your life is almost free, right?
Yes, I would say it's pretty much a resource, but like delaying that arena.
Well, I think maybe he took the arena to have a 3-drop and then he hit Hippie. And I'd rather have Hippie because that random disruption is going to be really good here.
That would make sense, yeah. I guess I'm just thinking like if he did have the Hypnotic Spectre, I probably might have gotten a little bit more aggressive with that Tainted Pact.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you remember how many swords Jared's playing?
I can check real quick.
Oh, that's interesting. So is that an end of turn or a main phase frantic search?
I don't know. We'll see if. Well, I was gonna say if Jared untaps, but I think with Frantic Search,
Well, it's happy either way. That's
yeah,
the problem.
yeah. Uh, let's see. For Swords to Plowshares,
Oh, looks like that was end of turn. Interesting.
Jared has the full four in the main deck.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense. So maybe he was saving the frantic search, but then he decided that he was very interested in finding a sword. Although is there any reason to do at end of turn rather than doing it main phase for Jared? Because if you hit a third land, then you net a mana off of it if you were going to do it anyway.
Yeah, I guess in that instance, like if you're thinking of Swords to Plowshares, that like because you do get that additional mana that you could just use it that turn. That would be the reason. Is if you like, you could cast Intuition. That would be the reason to draw Intuition at the end of turn and cast it. But
That's true. You could draw intuition. Okay, that makes sense. Verdict here could be a blessing and a curse for Jared.
yeah,
Jared wants some reasonable number of cards to go into his graveyard, not too many. So we'll see how that goes.
yeah. I mean, and it just increases the likelihood that this Hypnotic Spectre hits a card that Mike Arnold is wanting. So if you're
That's
padded by bad cards, then the random isn't as bad. But if you have to discard two of those bad cards, then you're more likely to hit a key card.
So I like the arena here. I think that the arena put some pressure on Jared, although Jared just sort of, I think, does he just end it here? He has, oh, if he's holding replenish, this game's over.
Yeah, so I don't think Mike has
He
any
must
way
be
to.
holding replenish because if Jared weren't holding replenish, then he just gets replenish here, right?
Yes, I think so.
Because he just gets replenish, exiles the arena, and has. So if you have a opalescence and a parallax wave, you basically have 4/4s that dance in and out of play at your leisure.
Hmm.
So yeah, that makes sense. Otherwise, he would have grabbed that. So I think that's game. So Jared's going to be able to return all of his enchantments to play, and because this card's from Urz's block, it does not affect both players.
Uh,
Um, so what Jared can do is target a land with a parallax wave, hold priority, target the wave with the tide, and then the tide targets itself. All of that lets him one by one exile all of Michael's lands and enchantments because the enchantments are also creatures.
so when there's, I guess with, I would say Swords of Plowshares, you might. If Jared played
No,
like I would say, like you would have to mess up from Jared's perspective to.
yeah.
You'd have to use a lot of
Michael,
activations of Parallax Wave for you.
Michael would need more than 4 copies of Swords to Plowshares and 4 mana open.
Yeah.
Like four Swords here doesn't get him out of this.
Okay.
No. Jared just phases his guy out in response.
Mm-hmm. So we do see that. Um, yep. And so.
And Michael concedes because there's nothing he can do.
Yep. The attempt of the swords, but it wasn't enough. And
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, that is a classic. It's everything that the Replenish deck wants to do. Jared just dug through his deck, shrugged off discard, and intuition to untapped, won the game.
Yeah, I would say like that was pretty scripted, I guess, is how you want as a Replenish player to go. I was gonna say like the discard is much less effective. I mean, usually discard's really good against combo.
Usually,
but yeah, in this situation, like counter spells are just much better. That like the discards, it's we joke that it might actually help Jared. And so, all right, I have the sideboard up for the Parallax Replenish. There are 4 Orm's Chant, 3 Chill, 1 Hydroblast, 2 Null Rod, 2 Mana Short, 2 Factor Fiction, and a Powder Keg. I guess I like those Factor Fiction. I don't really think you need anything else unless I'm missing something.
I don't actually hate Mana Short because I think that Michael's going to bring in Withered Wretch, and that's probably his best card. And Jared can mana short him, and then fill up his graveyard and go off.
Okay.
So I actually kind of like mana short here, believe it or not.
What do you think you take out? Do you take out the swords? Do you take out seals? Do you take out
I
Parallax
like
Tide?
swords. It's a better answer to Withered Wretch.
Okay.
Is there a planar void in
I,
Michael's sideboard?
we'll take a look there. So yes, there are two planar voids, two
Okay, so you can
disenchant, two
disenchant.
warmth, two withered wretch, two engineer
So
plague, two infest, one sacred ground, one null rod, and one serenity.
if I'm Jared, I'm going to take away some of the draw discard elements because I am going to be hit by a bunch of discard.
Okay.
Um, and it's worth pointing out that Sacred Ground does not stop Parallax Wave. So
Okay.
Michael's going to be excited, of course, to cut some of his useless creature removal, bring in the Wretches, bring in the Disenchants, bring in
Planar void. Yeah.
the Planar Voids, and why not bring Serenity in too?
Probably. Yeah.
And Masticore's not at its best. Swords doesn't really do anything here. Death Grasp,
Death grass is a little bit clunky. Yeah.
just a little bit, yeah.
I mean, the added value of leaving a card like Massacre or Deathgrass is it makes your tainted pack a little bit better.
I hadn't thought of the additional tainted pack value. You're right. Well, all right then. I guess we're not doing any sideboard cutting at all. We're just going to leave everything in.
Yeah.
We'll leave one swords in,
Yeah.
just for value.
Yeah, I mean, Mike does have some tools, but I feel like I still like Jared's chances here. I don't
I
feel like
agree.
I don't feel like the disruption elements of Mike's deck lines up very well against Replenish.
No, I mean, Jared already has 4 answers to both of Michael's answers in his main.
Mhm.
So I might get a frantic search for a mana short, and yeah, probably a frantic search, maybe 2 frantic searches for 2 swords. I think I like that.
Okay. So if from Mike's perspective, if there's an opening card in his hand, I think it would be Planar Void, right? Like if
Turn
I guess
1 Planar Void or turn 2 Withered Wretch, yeah.
yeah, the nice thing like the Planar Void coming out early would be more effective. But then it also opens it up to being responded or like answered with a seal cleansing.
Right,
So,
right.
so yeah, I think Duress and Planar Void, like that combination would be really good. And then yeah, Withered Wretch would be really nice as well.
Yeah, Michael has tools here. But remember that Jared can just play out his combo from his hand, right? You can assemble Opalescence into Parallax Wave.
That's true.
So I still think this favors Jared, but certainly Michael has some tools to try to make this interesting after boarding.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'll bring up Planar Void as that one is not commonly played. But yeah, whenever a card is put in the graveyard, remove that card from the game. So that card is, that is a triggered ability. I guess that would never come into play since Replenish is a sorcery.
Right. Replenish is a sorcery, so that shouldn't matter.
Okay.
And, give props to Michael. It's fun to, play your ugly version of Dead Guy sometimes, but now that now that the joke's done, of course, Michael went back to playing the proper version.
Yeah,
of
it's
all.
certainly easier to name all the cards when I know all the arts. So
Yes, exactly.
I guess I will note about the Planar Void that if it comes down after the cards are already in the graveyard, it's not going to exile anything there. So
Right.
it needs to be a preemptive play.
It does, however, get around Jared's Null Rod, so that's something. That it has that over Tormod's Crypt.
Okay. I'm just gonna. They said no mulligans. I think they know that they can start.
All right.
But
Well, let's see how this one goes. It's once again Necropotence against Frozen Shade. Broken classic 3-mana black card, and that card from Ice Age 2. So we'll see how this goes. If you think about it, they really both cost triple black to be any good.
yeah. All right, Mike's gonna start with a turn 1 Phyrexian Arena thanks to a Dark Ritual.
Which is kind of a fixed Necropotent, right? One
Yes.
of many.
Yes. Though I guess it's nice that you still get a draw step with the arena. So
You do. I mean, it might accidentally kill you while Necro will just lock you, but
yeah.
it's also worth pointing out that when you ritual out an arena, it takes 3 turns for you to be ahead, right? Because the first 2 times you use it, you're just getting back to parity.
Sure. Which is like I don't. Someone was talking about it just on a podcast, and I think they were just talking about it in general in terms of just casting it, and that you have to have 2 turns before it's like actually profitable. Like, and it's kind of like the card just seemed way less impressive when someone put it in that framing. Like, well, like you need to like have this card sit and play for 2 turns for you to actually like even get 1 more card.
It's 3 turns if you ritual it.
Yeah. So. And here we see Jared with the early seal cleansing. So
yeah, Wasteland, that could be really good against Jared's deck. Oh man, Arena and Re-Arena.
Okay. Well, that's something I guess that Mike's not too unhappy if the seal took out the first arena if he has a backup.
All right. Both players have their draw engine enchantments.
It's funny how like many enchantments like the replenish deck plays, but a card like Disenchant is surprisingly ineffective of like trying to interact in any meaningful way. Like even like the attunement that you just play out already is like, all right, I'll target it with Disenchant, and then they're just like, okay, I'll use this.
It's good specifically against the slowly accumulating a board plan, but Replenish, I mean, it's an Urza's block card, you know, so obviously it's broken. Oh man, Vindicate on the island too, so Michael's just going full land destruction.
So, I mean, the only problem is just like when you just don't have any pressure, it's kind of like, I mean, the nice thing is he has an arena going. His life total isn't pressured, so he's like he's drawing 2 cards, so he's more likely to get like a Hypnotic Spectre or an Exalted Angel or something. But like if you just Vindicate and then just pass the turn like 5 turns, then like that Vindicate's not very good. Or you Vindicate a land,
right?
But
right, if he had a Withered Wretch in play, this would be much better for him, of course.
We have both Alvaro and BK in the chat. They're cheering when the Vindicate got pointed at a land. They're cheering for. They said that we have a new Ponza deck. So
Ponza has been making a comeback without good, proper land tax decks to keep Ponza down.
Yep.
You know, people don't like playing against land destruction, which is why you need the people's hero, which is land tax.
It's all a matter of perspective. So. All right, Mike will use the last charge of the Gemstone Mine to get out a Hypnotic Spectre.
Yeah, he's blowing up everyone's land, including his own. I mean, that's a testament to how sketchy the mana bases are in this format.
Yeah.
You have to play this self-destroying land in your 2-color deck.
Well, it's just fair, right? Like if I'm going to Vindicate one of your lands, I'll basically Vindicate my own.
It's true. The real cost to playing Tainted Pact is that you have to have different arts for the same card, right? He's playing Snow-Covered and regular swamps.
Mm-hmm.
I do like that swamp choice. I mean, that's a very nice swamp.
All right, Duress is going to show Jared's hand of Flooded Strand, Attunement, and Factor Fiction.
Yeah, you got to take the fact here, right?
Yeah, that's the card that's like plus cards, where Attunement you have to go down a card.
Right.
So the fact does a very good job of undoing some of the hand disruption that Mike's already done.
Didn't these decks used to play Squee so you could actually get card advantage out of these?
Yes, there's 2 different lists, and I think the newer trend is cutting the Squeeze and playing Swords to Plowshares.
I know cutting Squee is all trendy. I still have Squee in my build. I like the fact that it lets you accumulate value against your opponents.
I think I will guess that the idea is there's matchups like Dreadnought or Goblins or what, or like that if you just don't have an interaction piece, that you might not be fast enough to get to that point or to get to that value, and it's kind of like a moot point then. So I think that's the idea, but I don't know.
I can see it. I just feel like I don't know. I'd rather lean into what the deck's good at rather than shoving 4 swords to plowshares into my combo deck. But
So with the duress, Mike took attunement. He left the
oh
Factor Fiction.
wow,
So
that's
with
interesting.
even so he knew he had the land. That
Right.
surprises me. What?
It surprises me too, because if you think that Jared might have a replenish, well, no, I don't get it. I genuinely don't get it. The only thing I can imagine is that Michael is, if he had a verdict, he would have played the verdict, so that doesn't make sense either. I don't know. If he had a second discard spell, he already would have cast it. So I'm not
Is
really
it
sure why
because
he
he
did
just
it.
has like another duress, and then you would have to respond?
He would have cast the duress before, right? He would have just snap cast off 2 duresses
Okay, yeah, yeah,
or a duress and a verdict.
yeah, yeah.
Now this gives Jared way too many looks to find a. I mean, this can be a giant impulse to find a replenish, or this can be setting up his hand, right? And now Jared knows that Michael's playing a face down, who knows what it is card, and he can just pick his favorite his favorite from the piles accordingly.
So I haven't paid too much attention for the graveyard, but if he finds a replenish, is it just does he have? Well, now he has everything right because the
Right.
parallax wave is in there.
After casting Factor Fiction, he
Yeah,
does.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean
Okay.
that's the other thing. Factor Fiction sets up your replenish incredibly well.
Okay.
So how do you split this if you're Michael?
I don't even know. I guess I would put both the opalescences in the same pile. I guess that would be step one.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because I think they're actually better in the hand than in the graveyard at this point. Uh, but I mean, I don't really want to see like if Jared just played the parallax wave and took out your white sources.
Yeah, no more Angel.
Yeah. Uh, that gives Jared a good amount of time.
It does. Hmm.
I mean, then he also, if it wasn't the same pile, okay, it's not in the same pile as Opalescence. I would say he could get rid of the white lands, then untap, and then play the Opalescence, and then it would be a blocker, a 4/4 that or he can block the morph, or it can attack through it. I don't know, but it looks like the attunement and parallax wave against Opalescence, Frantic Surge.
I like Parallax Wave here. I think it just lets you buy so much time, especially alongside Attunement, that lets you use that time productively.
Yeah, I agree. Because you're really only looking for one card at this point. So the attunement, you just need, because it's draw 3, discard 4, but it comes back to your hand. So you just need one additional card, which he's going to draw for his turn. So for you, in order to keep a replenish. So yeah, I like the wave and the. Oh, Jared took the other
Now, if
pile.
Jared already has Replenish, that's a whole different story.
Well,
So,
oh, I guess was there one an unknown card? Well, I mean that split should have been pretty quick, right? If he had already had a replenish, right?
I think so, because then you just instantly take
Yeah,
the Frantic Search, and now all your cards go to the graveyard.
yeah.
Interesting.
I do not like these. Like, I don't. Why do you take this pile if you're like I don't. I don't know. I feel like I would like the parallax wave, take out the white mana, the clock's severely
Yeah,
reduced, and then you have attunement for the next turn.
I agree. I like that pile better. All right, this is exciting.
Uh, I guess I'll note that Mike did not flip up the angel, which oh here we have intuition. So this just finds 3 replenish.
I think this just finds through Replenish, and there's nothing Michael has that can stop this.
I don't think there are.
There's nothing to Tainted Pact for.
Okay, yep. There's a.
Yeah,
I was
that's
gonna
that.
say yeah, it was interesting that Mike didn't flip over as a exalted angel, but like I guess you could just take one turn of doing it of 2 damage and then pretend like you have something, but I don't even know what it would
There's
be.
nothing to bluff though. There's
Yeah,
nothing
yeah.
he could pretend to have, right?
So the intuition does a good job of does a good
Yeah,
job of being demonic tutor. So
it does. For unrestricted cards, it's basically Demonic Tutor.
yeah, I mean that match kind of played out the way that you talked about that. That Mike did his thing in terms of disrupting Jared, but you can't
Yeah,
stop him from drawing cards, and eventually they're going to
right,
find something. So
right. I mean that's an infomercial for the Replenish deck.
okay, yeah. All right, let's jump down to the players
Yeah,
and listen in to see what they
unused.
have to say about the match.
How deep it was.
Avoid on like
on turn 1, and then.
You do.
But I had the seal for
1 or
that.
2. Yeah.
You know, I had the seal for that, so I was ready for it. Yeah, having the interaction in this deck is definitely helpful.
Oh yeah,
especially against hippie and stuff, like, so I can actually keep a solid land count. But right.
So the verdicts came out, and
Okay.
then Master Course came out,
Yeah,
and Death Grasp came out.
Really, the verdicts came out.
I'm a little
verdicts
there.
kind of you know, high risk, high reward, because it pretty much has to discard you to 0.
That's true.
So,
Otherwise, I'm just doing you a favor at that
Michael,
point. But
there was a
it can be
point in
decent.
game 2 where a verdict
Fair
would have
enough.
been
All right, I'm turning them back on.
Yeah,
right?
same here.
Oh, they might not
Hello.
have this. Okay.
Yeah, I got you now, guys.
I would say Rich was just asking Michael a question, so.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah,
Michael,
what was Rich?
in game 2, there's a point where I thought verdict would have been unbelievably good. Right after your duress, following that up with the verdict would have been.
Yeah, I was scared of that. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I definitely don't want to go to the top of my deck.
I don't believe I had them at the same time though.
Right.
I don't believe I did.
Right.
But yeah, I had the I was trying to get you with the hit key plus the verdict. That was my hope, but yeah, was not able to do it. I kept the hand on the strength of double arena, first turn arena, and a backup arena, and as what happens, like when you face these matchups, you need to draw your sideboard cards, and I never saw a sideboard card. You know.
And then I was able to answer your seals so quickly. You know, you got one. I mean, answer your arena so quickly with seal. Like you got 1 card off of 2 seals or 2 arenas. So like that was pretty good. But that's why they're in there, so to speak.
Yeah. So he who drew the most cards won that match. As proper Brian Weissman School of Magic right there.
Yeah. I still love the Tainted Pact in that deck. I think it's sweet.
It's a fun card.
Yeah.
It's one of my pet cards for sure.
Would it become the signature card in the deck?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, sometimes it strings together really well, and you're drawing a million cards a turn and have the interaction you need. But the dead guys, heal has always been, trying, just getting that consistency. It's really rough.
Right. 2-color deck with 5-color mana base.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I think it's just it is unfortunate that the enemy fetch lands aren't in pre-modern, and then it would feel pretty balanced across the the 10 the 10 guilds or whatever you want to call them, but the color pairs. But it does make it like Magic was back in the day. Enemy colored pairs were hard to play because they were supposed to be enemy colors, right?
They were right. It's very flavorful, right? Black and white, not friends. There's no marsh flats.
No.
Sad day.
You get a good scab land, I think, from Tempest. If you really
right, playing Scabland.
No one has ever used that juxtaposition of those words. You've got a good scab land, and
can you name those 5? I think.
Well, you know, because you put them in your cube.
Yeah, I did put them in my cube with
so
like
the Scabland. It's Salt Marsh, which is the black white one. Scabland is red white. And then you have Sky Shroud Forest, which is green blue.
Yeah.
Pine Barrens green black. And then you have
wait, what do you think is the white black one? Because Salt Marsh is a blue black, a different land.
Salt Marsh, because Salt Flats. That's
Salt
what it
Flats?
is.
Okay.
Yeah, you have Marsh Flats, which is the actual fetch land, and then you have Salt Flats, which is the black white, and Salt Marsh is the invasion one.
And then the red blue one, Caldera Lake.
Caldera Lake. That sounds right.
Yeah, Caldera Lake.
Yeah.
Which basically means the same thing as Scalding Tarn.
Yeah, basically.
They
have great names.
Yeah.
They mix some of the invasion-specific names, like Sky Shroud Forest, with generic names, which is just kind of strange to me.
Yeah, it is weird. It is strange. Yeah, if those were just a little bit better, because not only do they do you pain, but they also come into play tapped. Like it's just a
right.
I mean, they're just terrible.
Yeah, they needed to only one of those 2 bad things, and they'd probably be playable.
Yeah,
I would totally agree. If they just came into play tapped, I think then they might be playable. And then or what's a cycle that I really wish was in pre-modern, and if they ever made an old frame, it would go in my cube in a second. Are the coming to play tri-lands like from Shards of Alara.
Like Arcane Sanctum.
Yeah,
The Arcane Sanctum, Crumbling Acropolis, like just something like that. Like that's all we like. I'm sorry, that's just all you need. I think that would solve a lot of problems.
Those are really good.
Yeah. Just and they are like much of enough of a downside.
It's like we're not asking for a lot.
No, we're not.
I'm still waiting for enemy colored Dragon Lair lands.
Okay.
The
layer.
Sums.
Yeah.
Before. Because they did that, the enemy Dragon Legends,
I still think those Dragon Lair lands are slightly underplayed. I understand, it's because of Wasteland they really aren't, and then they also aren't good by themselves. Like you need another land, so you can't keep a 1-lander with them.
It's hard to justify more than one in the deck.
Yeah, you can't, except for in I think in Alvaro's blue-red Tinker deck, you could probably play a few. Because they're good with picking up City of Traders, and they also solve the mana, so you could probably play 2 or 3 in that. But
I feel like anytime that you play them and they're good, you feel like you're you feel like you're doing something. It's like a
totally
little sub game. I don't know. I picked up the Secluded Step. I mean, I don't know what slow deck but now I can cycle this.
Well, I mean, Pat Burt has played them in the green-white, kind of Thresh Clasm or Terraclism, whatever decks, because you can play those early, and then you can pick them up later with a Rift Grove or a Trevor's Ruins, and then you can draw the card. There is that's value in that.
And in that deck, you can lose 1 fewer land to your own Armageddon too.
Yep. So there is actually synergy with them there for sure.
Oh yeah.
They have some small corner cases. It's great to see them though. Those were definitely iconic, growing up.
Yeah,
for sure.
They're more cool than good, but they're kind of okay.
Yeah. I have them in my cube. 100%.
Desperate times call for desperate measures. With pre-modern mana bases. So
exactly right. I saw the Dromar's Cavern, which is
Oh yeah,
it's a good one.
I know it. Black white doesn't have many options.
No, it doesn't.
Right.
Besides playing the marsh flats and hoping your opponent doesn't notice.
The tainted land.
So, Mike, I want to talk about the match a little bit. One thing that I was surprised is a lot of times we talk about Dead Guy Ale as a mid-range deck that is good against combo, and it seems like you have a lot of cards, but it just seems like none of them line up the way you want. Disenchants and discards, and even Planar Void, if it comes down too late, is just pretty awkward. It's just funny how it seemed like you had so many cards, but they just don't actually function quite as well as you would really want.
Yeah, not quite. Everything kind of has to go the right way with Dead Guy Ale. And again, it's possible that I just need to mulligan that one more, but really what am I mulliganing for that beats that? Because again, I can mulligan for Planar Void, but he still has a Seal of Cleansing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. You need Duress and Planar Void, but other than that, it's pretty tricky.
And given that Jared had double Seal, that wouldn't stop him either.
Yeah, so I had a plan. I think it was a pretty good plan, but sometimes it just doesn't go your way.
Yeah, your hand made sense to keep, right? You had a plan. You could do a thing, and then you had another thing, and I don't know. I think it's a bad match, and
Yeah, it's kind of hard. And when I showed the verdicts, to Jared that I took them out, he was like, "Oh, really?" And it's it's verdict really needs to discard him down to 0. Otherwise, it's not very good. If it does, to get those last 2 cards, it's really solid.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's just such. I could also, verdict him on turn 2, and he discards, some parallax cards, goes to his turn, and frantic searches and to replenish, and I gave him all that he needed.
On that Fact or Fiction split, I was wondering if maybe you just put the attunement and the frantic search on the same side, as opposed to splitting them. I'm not sure, but I would probably pick those 2 cards and then put the other ones in, so they still end up in the yard, but at least it's not as much card advantage, so to speak. I don't know.
Yeah, because you do have to go down the cards anyway.
Yeah, because they do similar things, right? So either the pile. So I'm just gonna grab the one that gets a few more. It's a tough one.
I don't like the idea though of you untapping frantic searching attunement, and that's 5 more cards for you to look at. That does not sound great.
Yeah, I could have done both, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I didn't have the interaction that I needed. I had 2 angels, in my hand, and Swords of Plowshares, and that's what it kind of comes down to. But that's what happens with mid range. you had the wrong half of your deck, sometimes.
Well, you're hoping to draw into it without the double arena would have been sweet, but
Yeah,
again,
Oh,
like we
can
said,
can I ask why you took the card disadvantage enchantment instead of Factor Fiction with the duress?
I was really struggling with that one, because over time attunement will see more cards. I was really torn by that.
Oh, so your thought is he would use it and then be able to go back to hand and he use it again. Okay.
Correct.
All right.
Yeah. So two activations of it. You see 6 cards.
Okay, that makes more sense. We just looked at it and we just thought like one use, and it's like Factor Fiction sees 5 cards and it's net positive. But I guess we didn't consider the fact of him keeping the attunement and using it on a future turn.
It never occurred to me that you might have cut the Verdict. With Verdict in your deck, I think Factor Fiction is the clear choice because you can use Verdict to mitigate what's going on with attunement.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Without Verdict, it's I think a different decision. That's difficult. But I don't know. Yeah. I'm just a big fan of Verdict. Like I think it's just a really good card.
It's sweet.
I've won this matchup before, but I don't think at that time it was against Manus Kukinis, and I don't believe he was playing Swords to Plowshares. And he, again, like Jared has Seals of Cleansing for my arenas both times, 3 times in the game, and he has Swords to Plowshares for my hippies each time. Like, what do I do? That's like my entire game plan. So I'm dead in the water, and that's not where the mid-range deck wants to be.
When Anton Glan sees this tomorrow, I'm sure he'll be very happy to see that Swords and Seals are there.
He will.
He's the one who coached me on this deck basically for a while, and he's like, "Trust me, they're good." And I was like, "Okay, fine." Yeah, they're the way to go.
They were.
So they're very good. Who knew good cards are good, right? So as simple as that. But anyway, all right.
Yeah,
I'll
check to see if there are any questions
in the chat.
People were just saying that like Mesmeric Fiend might actually have been better than Hypnotic Spectre in that match, but that's I guess just by chance.
I mean, eats the swords one way or the other,
Yeah.
Another card I wish we had in Premodern, Tide Hollow Sculler.
Yeah.
Slightly better Mesmeric Fiend. Having 2 power and 2 toughness is the big difference, and probably would go right into Dead Guy Ale.
Oh yeah,
Alara was a great set. I love that set. That set's really fun to draft. That's probably after Invasion my favorite. Draft format.
I was thinking about collecting it because that's when I kind of got back into Magic after like a pretty long hiatus. Was around like Shards of Alara, and it's just like multicolored sets are always awesome, right?
I have an Alara queue built in addition to the Invasion. I just have the first set, but I have the same setup I have with Invasion for the first set in Shards of Alara.
I'm down. I'm down. Let's do that. I mean, I think
draft sometime.
Yeah. What is? And then you got Conflux and
then there's that Cascade set. I don't like the Cascade set. The Cascade set is
Alara Reborn.
It's so broken. I mean, it's.
I had some fun with Bloodbraid Elf back in the day. Bloodbraid and the Blightning, that was my jam.
That's way too good.
It's funny, like
Lightning.
That standard environment had like the best mana that just
ever.
It was like you would cast Bloodbraid Elf, like Bogart Ram Gang, Putrid Leech, Cryptic Command. Like you just played all the colors. Like you played 1 blue, and then had a card that was like 3 red or green. Like you could just cast it in the same deck.
The control deck was, what do they call it, like Quick and Toast or something like that? You could play Cloud Thresher, which had quad green. You could play Cryptic Command, which had triple green, triple blue.
Mm-hmm.
Then you could play Cruel Ultimatum, which had double blue, triple black, and double red. And then you could also play what else was in it? I can't remember. It was a wild one. Yeah, the mana
wasn't there like a green card that it also just splashed?
Yeah, just like threw it in there.
Yeah,
was that the Cloud? I think it might have been the Cloud Thresher because that was good against fairies. Yeah, it was funny.
You had all the Vivid land. I mean,
Vivids and Reflecting Pools. Yeah,
and then the Filter lands. Were really cool. So that it's just the complete opposite of what Premodern is. We're
complete opposite.
And this makes me appreciate Premodern's mana base. I like the fact that we have terrible mana in this format.
Though I will say that standard was very fun. I played it a lot. It was fun.
I did too.
I just want slightly better, man. I'm not asking for the.
We're asking for Arcane Sanctum and Crumbling Necropolis. That's all we want. We literally just want a enemy colored dual land that comes into play tapped and doesn't deal us damage for no reason. That's all we're asking for.
I want Tithe to be able to fetch me a black source.
I like how you guys say like we're
that.
asking for it, like they're gonna somehow like create a time machine and like slip it into a set or something. Like,
hey, it could be one of the double eliminations. We could do whatever we want. Have some offshoot tournament. It won't be the core pre-modern, but some other event. You can do whatever you want. So, anyway,
Jared and I were talking about something because they are coming out with retro frame shocks with
MH3
or
Ravnica remastered. Yeah.
So
Yep.
we kind of messed.
I don't play any modern, but like, man, I am a sucker for those retro frame, like classic lands.
They look good.
The retro frame cards are wrong. They say they're retro frame, but if you look,
they're definitely wrong. Yeah.
The text on the name is too bright.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're retro framed. They're not old frame. There's a difference.
Yeah.
They're not original frame.
They definitely don't look. I agree with you, Rich. They're definitely a little wrong.
They're not the abomination that today's card frames generally are. They're much less horrible, but they are obviously worse than the originals because they're not the originals.
Yeah. Rich, you gave me this lecture when I was well into my cups during my birthday, and I definitely appreciated it. But you were right. There is definitely a big difference in the new and old frame as far as how it represents everything.
Yeah.
So, anyway, well, good games, Mike. Good luck going forward, my friend. I'm sure we'll talk again, and I look forward to seeing the rest of the matches tonight.
Okay. All
right. Thank you, players. Thank you, Rich, for jumping in the booth.
Thank you. This was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, but we'll take a break as we get our players set up. We have Will up against Tom Matelski, and then we have BK. Brian Coel is going to be jumping in the booth as Flint is not here this week, so we'll have some guest commentary from Brian Coel.
You've taken over his PhD while he's away.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm pretty sure last week it didn't have that username. I think it had mine, so I don't know.
Congratulations on earning a PhD.
Yeah, who would have thought it's that easy? It's just
apparently it took me 6 years, but you just show up and
yeah. It's kind of like one of those honorary things that they give to Oprah or whatever. I think I got that status for Premodern, right?
running the PSS convinced the university, maybe Wisconsin, to give you an honorary PhD.
I could ask. Maybe they'd be willing. Yeah,
they might have.
All right. So we'll call it for this round. Thanks again, Rich. We'll take a quick break as I get a player set up, but we'll be back for round 3 shortly. Don't go anywhere.